Emma sighed in relief. She really needed this job, just like air. Little Bella needed medicine, even not very expensive, and she had to pay for it too. Emma's daughter was only 3 years old. As it so happened, the girl's father ran away before the baby was born. Then Emma had a choice: save the child or get rid of her and get on with her life. She cried all night long, realizing that she could not get rid of her blessing, but she could hardly make her life worth living. The choice was terrible, but the second way gave at least hope that one day Emma, an orphanage girl with no education and relatives, would be able to give her child what she had not received as a child herself. And she made up her mind. Her old neighbor, Anne, reassured her. "Why are you crying buckets? Why are you crying buckets? You're not the first. You won't be the last. Don't worry, we'll cope with it, and I'll help. I'm not going to die yet." Emma smiled at her thoughts. Without Anne, had long been a member of her and Bella's family, that would have been long gone. From the beginning, the neighbor became a free babysitter, tutor, and home doctor who allowed Emma to earn at least some money. Bella was growing up a very weak girl. All the childhood diseases that exist in the world became their constant companions. Doctors strongly advised only one thing: to take the child to the sea at least once a year. The girl will get stronger, and all the problems will go away by themselves. Easy to say, once a year. It would be great to get out at least once in a lifetime. Well, it's okay. She will surely raise the money. When Emma saw that a large bank required a cleaning lady, immediately jumped at the vacancy. The salary is not bad at all, and the work is only daytime, at certain hours, so she could take some courses, start earning more, and finally take her daughter to the sea. After she was asked a few questions at the interview, including whether there was someone to take care of her child if she got sick, Emma was taken to show her the front of the line. She listened carefully, and the woman who interviewed her spoke quickly but clearly. Emma was sure that she could handle it without any problems. When the tour was over, Mrs. Coleman turned to Emma. "The most important thing is that you mustn't be heard or seen, but there must be perfect cleanliness everywhere. Is that clear?" "Yes, of course, it's clear. I won't let you down." The woman gave her a suspicious look. She had always been against young people at work. There were no guarantee with them. Emma began work. The young and frisky girl was liked by everyone, very quickly. Emma paid special attention to the flowers in the bank owner's office. There were a lot of very expensive and fashionable plants, but because of improper care they looked kind of shriveled up. 2 weeks after Emma started working, the flowers bloomed and cheered up. One day she was caught by the director while fiddling with the flowers. "Well, I naively thought that my presence had such positive effect on the plants." Emma turned abruptly. A man in his 50s stood up in front of her. He was tall, handsome, well-groomed. In fact, he looked exactly the way a bank director should have looked. "Excuse me, please. I'll clean it up now." Emma began to gather scissors and bags of fertilizer, but Mr. William Peterson stopped her. No, 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 go ahead. I'll just take the documents." Emma noticed that he looked at her strangely, but then he turned away and headed for the safe. She also turned toward the post of flowers. Mr. Peterson could not understand who this young cleaning lady reminded him of. All day long he thought about her, and he even shared his worries with his young wife that evening. She immediately pricked her ears up. When her husband, who was 27 years older, talked about the woman, she just blew her mind. Was it for nothing that she had gone so long to her success? She was spending an entire year grooming Mr. Peterson and calculating his fortune. Once a potential danger appeared on the horizon, Lizzie immediately eliminated it. Now she realized that she should visit the bank. They must have relaxed by now, because she hadn't visited her husband in a long time. At the same time, she could see what the young, talkative cleaning lady was. If necessary, put her in her place and maybe fire her. The fact that the cleaner was a young woman not only did not reassure her, but even alarmed her, because young girls who come to work for rich men usually know what they want. Lizzie also once came to town and took a job as a cleaner because she could go nowhere else. No one around her now knows about it, though. It took, however, some time to get to the bank. The next day, Tom called to her and said he missed her very much, and Lizzie flew to him on the wings of love. Then she met with her friends, and then her husband was gone for 2 days, so she rushed to her lover again. When she remembered about the cleaning lady, almost a week had passed. Liz walked through the bank. The staff tried not to look at her. In general, no one understood how such a smart and good man could marry this bimbo. Liz was well aware that all employees disliked her, but considered it as pure envy. She opened the door to her husband's office without knocking. Mr. Peterson was sitting on a table, and a young round heel was watering the flowers and enthusiastically telling her husband something. Her husband. Liz slammed the door loudly. Well, look at that. The floor scrubber is giving advice to the bank owners on how to run the business? Emma looked at her frightened and hurried to leave the office. Mr. Peterson looked at his wife in surprise. What do you think you're doing? Honey, what are you talking about? Why the hell did you hurt that nice girl? A nice girl? Lois laughed. Honey, such nice girls have the sharpest teeth. Don't judge people by yourself. How she wanted to answer him the way he deserved. But she had to apologize, and said she was just jealous. The next day, she hired a private detective. Search high and low. You have to find out everything about her for me. Do you understand? Everything. A week later, he brought her documents and photos. Liz paid and began to read. Her eyebrows went up. Damn, that's all I need. Well, no. I've been going through this too long to share it with anyone else. She tossed the paper aside and grabbed her phone. Tom, I need your advice. Your help right away. I don't care if you're busy. You want the gravy train to end? Then I'll do it without you. Meet me in an hour at our cafe. Emma came to work. She didn't understand anything. The bank was full of policemen. The girls were all scared. She asked someone, What happened? Don't you know? No, I just walked in. Stolen. The bank? Emma gasped in fright. Now she had to look for a job again? It's not a bank. The safe is in the owner's office. Emma looked at the girl in surprise. But it's always closed. That's it. Less than 10 minutes later, someone came for her. She, the owner, and a couple of other people he trusted had access to the office. But she only was new, and he opened his safe in her presence. She was interrogated for several days. She sobbed, begged to let her see the daughter, explained that she knew nothing, and certainly didn't know anything about any documents. 5 days later, she was released. That was Mr. Peterson's order. The documents were important, so Emma was under surveillance, as they hoped to get them at least this way. Liz and her friends went on vacation in the mountains. Mr. Peterson was having a rest in the living room. He was so disappointed. His wife was right after all. You can't trust anyone at all. This girl, she seemed to him so sincere, so pure. He turned over and saw a white sheet of paper sticking out from under the chair. The housewife should be tarred and feathered. How she could leave the room so untidy. Mr. Peterson could not stand it. Got up and took out the sheet. He sat down on the sofa and began to read. The paper fell out of his hands. This is nonsense. It just can't be. He grabbed the sheet again, looked at the name of the detective company, and grabbed the phone. 20 minutes later, the detective was brought to him. The young man was visibly frightened. Yours? He nodded. Now tell me all in order, quickly. Emma sat on the bed beside her daughter. Bella was sick again. Caught a cold. It was usual, except there was no money for medicine this time. Nor was there any hope that they could go on living together. Tears streamed down Emma's face. Who was she? A cleaning lady, without a tribe, no one to stand up for her? There was no one. How many times she tried to find someone, but her search always stopped at the maternity hospital where she was born. Her mother was hospitalized, undocumented. She was just brought in off the street, and she died in childbirth. That's a dead end. Mommy, don't cry. I won't, darling. It's alright. Now take some medicine. You'll feel better and get some sleep, and we'll make pancakes in the evening. Do you want pancakes? I don't know. She had just given Bella medicine when she heard a noise in the hallway. Emma cringed. Not again, not now. She doesn't want to go to jail. Bella won't survive without her. God, what for? She's not guilty of anything. The door swung open. Mr. Peterson stood behind with some other people. Emma clutched Bella tightly to her. Not now. not again. May I come in? She didn't say anything. What was she supposed to say? Come in, please. May I offer you some tea? The man came in and stood in the middle of the room. He looked around, and then his gaze stopped on Bella. Your daughter? Yes. Why so pale? She often gets sick, and a high temperature now. Emma wanted to add that there was no way she could go to jail, but she didn't say anything. Who cares about all this? Mr. Peterson turned to the two men who accompanied him. Get a pediatrician, and whatever else they need. One calls a doctor, one goes to the store. They went out, and Mr. Peterson shut the door behind them. He looked at Emma again. Now he understood who she reminded him so much of. Certainly of Grace, his beloved, who was missing. They had just come to this town. He was neither a banker nor anything at all. Grace was pregnant, and he was trying to make some money to succeed in life. That night they had a fight. Grace said that it was very hard for her. In a strange town, in his absence. He snapped, yelled at her, said he was trying for them, and she took offense and left. He went to bed, and in the morning, he thought she'd gone back to her hometown. After a month, he realized he had to go. By his reckoning, Grace should have given birth by now. He felt like a brute, missed her madly, and decided he would crawl on his knees before her. Only Grace didn't come home. Only then he realized that something had happened. He had been looking for traces of her for 5 years, then stopped, because felt like he was going crazy. And then that sheet, the detective's confession that Lise had hired him, and it turned out that she had also set up the whole thing. He had to start the conversation somehow. Emma, tell me, do you know anything about your mother? The question took her by surprise. No, nothing. I only know that she was admitted to the maternity hospital without documents, and died in childbirth, that's all. Mr. Peterson thought. Now I know that too. He knelt silently before Emma. She jumped up. What are you doing? I'm sorry. I'm sorry for almost putting you to jail. For not keeping your mother safe. For not being there for you all your life. You? Yes, Emma. I'm your father. We'll take all the necessary tests, of course, but I'm sure of it. You look a lot like her. Emma helped him up. She was so shocked that she didn't know what to say. The door opened. One of the young men who had accompanied Mr. Peterson squeezed into the room. He had 2 huge bags from a large grocery store, and a minute later, the other entered, pushing a frightened doctor, who was just the one Bella was seeing. Emma, of course, I'll make new prescriptions, but I told you what would help you. Mr. Peterson immediately asked. What? The girl needs a seat. Once a year is enough until she'll grow up, and the child won't get sick so often. If you say so, then we'll go. He turned again to his companions. 3 tickets for tomorrow, to the best resort. Then he touched Emma's hand. Do you mind if I come with you? We have to get to know each other somehow. No, of course. We are scared to travel alone. We've never been anywhere. Emma's head was spinning. She just couldn't take in so much new information at once. But Bella felt fine, and in half an hour, she was drinking tea, sitting on her grandfather's lap, chatting merrily about something. Liz came back 2 days early. She was furious. Her husband hadn't answered his phone the whole day, and she had a lot to ask him. Why her credit card was blocked? At least she had cash for the return ticket. Her husband was not at home, but her suitcase were in the hall. William, where are you? What does it all mean? The manager, Mr. Peterson's deputy, came out to her. Mrs. Peterson, don't shout like that. Mr. Peterson is far away. He went on vacation with his daughter and granddaughter. What? You must now return the documents you took from the safe. Only then you will be able to pick up your suitcase and leave this house. If you do not return the documents, you will go to jail. Emma never went back to the dormitory. Her father wouldn't let her. Besides, they took away old Anne, who was weeping with gratitude. Emma had a hard time adjusting to her new life. Often she woke up and jumped off the bed. She had to run, to think of something. No money to buy medicine for Bella. Then went to bed. I couldn't sleep for a long time. Often she wondered, would her mother still be alive if her father had been there for her then? She didn't know the answer, but she could see that he blamed himself for everything. Bella felt the best. It was as if she had been born in this house. Immediately she became everyone's favorite, which she constantly took advantage of. Emma went to the university, but only after a year of intensive preparation, and Mr. Peterson divorced Liz, who returned all the documents.